Hey onesies, Josh Williams here, and thanks for checking out this week's episode of the One Man Podcast. It's always free and available on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, and many more, as well as on the web at onemanpodcast.com. So please, whatever platform you're listening on, like and subscribe. While you're at it, give it a rating, leave a review. Why? Because it helps the podcast, and I'd really appreciate it. How about that? What about social media? Search One Man Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube to keep up with what's going on there. Get a little extra content for yourself. And finally, to get in touch, please send your emails to contact@onemanpodcast.com. You send it, I read it on the podcast. That's the deal. Thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode.
What's up, everybody? This is DJ Demers.
I'm K. Trevor Wilson.
Hey, it's Krista Allen.
Hi, this is Rick Mercier.
What's up, guys? This is Paul Verzi, and you are listening to the One Man Podcast. Yeah!
My name is Josh Williams, and welcome to the One Man Podcast, episode number 176 for Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. How's it going, onesies? How are you guys doing? You having the best time of your lives, huh? Is everything going good for you in your world? Who knows? The world's a crazy place. It's up and down on a daily basis. New numbers of COVID, right? Some people say things are good. Some people think things are bad. Some people say the numbers are getting better. Some people say the numbers are getting worse. Who knows? Who can you believe? Everyone's lying. Everyone's telling the truth, right? My facts are right. Your facts are wrong. All the fun stuff. Well, this week on the podcast, I'll be talking about an interview I just did with the creators and cast of the Genius podcast. I had a great time talking with them. I'll tell you about that. I watched a documentary on Amazon Prime called Scotch, A Golden Dream. We're still doing the Nespresso Roadshow, and that's taken up a lot of my time, so I'm finding ways to just decompress, right? Watching documentary series, watching one called The Business of Drugs on Netflix. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Filmed the thing for the Nespresso training team nationwide, which is kind of cool. I'll tell you guys an old story about something I did, which, one will lead into the other. And that's it. And then I've got a DK book coming up. Hey, the Health Span Solution that I read. Luckily for me, it's like 70% a cookbook and then the rest of it is just info, but it's a great cookbook. It's a great book. I'll tell you about that a little later on. Then we'll all go home to our families, huh? How about that? So why don't I get right into it? The Genius team asked me, I'd say the better part of a year ago, that if I wanted to, get some early access to their podcast. I said, sure. What an honor to be asked if you wanted to be let in, right? Get the inside scoop before everybody else, right? So I basically, I listened to their podcast. I listened to the first 3 episodes, and then when it came out, I listened to the rest of it, and I enjoyed it. It was really good. I was super impressed by just like everything. The sound quality was amazing. And after that, they asked if I wanted to do an interview with like some of the, do an episode with some of the cast members and the creators. I was like, yeah, of course, absolutely. I would love that. But it just never really worked out because we were trying to do something. This was like pre-Zoom and pre-COVID. So it was kind of like, well, I'm in Ottawa, and maybe if I took the cast member, there's like one of the cast members live in Toronto. One of them lived here in Ottawa, and somebody was in like Montreal. So we were all in different places. No one was really doing Zoom stuff at the time. So for me, I was like, well, I could Skype one person. And then if I had for me, it's always been an issue with audio, right? Is how do I get everybody's audio sounding good? I've only done one interview prior, virtually. And it was with my buddy Trent McClellan. Great interview. One of my favorite interviews I've ever done. But it was Trent and I spent like 25 minutes trying to get things to work, and there was this weird humming sound coming from Skype or whatever. And what we ended up having to do was I actually plugged the recorder into my phone, and I recorded us talking on the phone while Skype was still open so we could see each other. Because I find it's very difficult. It's harder to do an interview with people when you can't really see. I mean, I'm a body language guy. I'm a comedian, so I can tell when people are into what I'm saying, and I can tell when the people are not. Which is why the podcast is so fucking weird, because when I'm staring at the wall, I cannot tell if the wall is interested in what I'm saying or not. But anyways, the point is that I was worried about scheduling this interview because I wanted it to go well. I didn't want to have, certain things you run into with like Zoom or whatever, where like it cuts off other people when someone else is talking and certain things, someone, even if someone goes, yep, like sometimes it'll cut off the original audio to allow for the new audio person and things like that. So I was just kind of saying like, let's make sure we can figure it out and do some tests. Cause I really want the episode to sound good because you guys did such an amazing job. I would hate to like just, I tried to do it with one person. We hit shitloads of technical issues, but the sound and everything went great. We just took a long time to prepare and eventually we finally got it figured out. The creator and writer Tracy Houston was so super cool. Like her and I spent almost an hour on the phone. Just one of the times we're trying to coordinate it. The first time we actually spoke to each other was so cool. We had a great conversation. Everything was just like, it was nice and organic to talk to each other. And we were both very excited. We both have a mutual hatred for certain vegetables, which was kind of cool. Like we talked for almost an hour and time went by, but it was just so cool to finally get a chance to talk to her and sort of get to know her a little bit. And that was just in preparation for the interview. So when it got closer to the date for the interview, I re-listened to their podcast because it'd been, quite a while before. And I was like, well, I want to have some questions and stuff like that. And I wanted to be fresh in my mind. So I listened to it again and, I listened to it again almost like the 48 hours before the interview. So I was like, every time I was cooking, if I was cleaning, doing laundry, anything like that, I had the podcast on, just going through it again. And, so good. So good. I can't say enough good things. You guys can check it out at genius-podcast.com. You can listen to it there, or you can find it on, most podcatchers. So iTunes or Spotify or whatever it is, you'll find it there. But, yeah, it was great. And the funny thing was like, just as I'm listening to this, I'm like, fuck, this is such a good story. It's so intricate that like, I was so, intimidated and frankly, like at times, like embarrassed because I was like, there's so many things I want to do and get to know the cast. And I even say some of this in the intro for the episode, but it was so cool to meet them. And I only got to scratch the surface of each one and who they were and stuff like that. So I would really love an opportunity to chat with them again, maybe on an individual basis, not so much because, I don't want to give them all the floor. It was just like, it was hard for me even to bounce around to the different people just to try to give everyone, some screen time. Like I've seen interviews and stuff where it's like a panel of people on a show and like you see the person trying to like, somebody will sit there for like 25 minutes and say nothing. And then they'll be like, so Sebastian, did you enjoy the process? And he's like, oh yeah, it was great. We had a lot of fun and everyone would show up and it was this and that. And the guy says like 3 sentences and then they've gone back to someone else. And like, that was the only thing that he got. And it was very like generic. And I was like, so I didn't want me bouncing from person to person to seem, forced or inorganic. But that's why I like doing like one-on-one because I can just focus entirely on the person that I'm talking to. As much as I'm a big talker and you guys know this, I talk so much, but I love to get to know people. I love to get excited. I like to get genuine connections and dialogues going. I had so much fun. Here's the thing. Like I said, in the last 48 hours before the interview, I was listening to it again. And I have to say, Sarah Marchand, holy shit. Okay. She's the lead. She plays Sabine Moriarty in the podcast. Her and Mitchell Cohen plays Jim Moriarty. They both did an amazing job. Like you can't even, when I was talking to them, neither of them sounded like their character, which was crazy. Like just sort of the level of talent. But, I really gotta say that like Sarah Marchand, the sound of her voice is Sabine. Now this is all just audio, right? So you're being brought in on a different level. There's no visual stimulus. It's all auditory. Like I legitimately started to develop like just a crush on the sound of her voice because she was very like, her character is very confident, but like soft and gentle. But just, and of course she's got like the, the English accent, if you will. Not heavy English accent. Oh, hey, governor. That'd be fucking hilarious. But it was just so, it's basically the way it was like, it was akin to, if you've ever seen the movie Her, where, Joaquin Phoenix like falls in love with his his OS. But it's Scarlett Johansson's voice. And the whole movie, you never see her face or anything because it's just this voice coming from his phone that's connecting with him and stuff like that. But the truth of the matter is just, the voice alone is so seductive at times, but like warm and welcoming. And I don't know, man. I just, for what it's worth, that, and of course, maybe it's just because I was listening to it for like, you know, close to like 2 days straight, was just, it was very charming and enchanting. So part of me was like a little intimidated to, you know, meet and start, you know, having a dialogue with this voice. And so when I didn't see it, you know, which honestly, probably the only reason I survived the interview was just because of the fact that she didn't sound like the character Sabine when I was talking to her. Sarah was still very charming, as was Mitchell, as was Tracy. It was just like, I just remember like developing this little bit of a crush in the 48 hours leading up to the interview. And, man, it was cool to get to meet them and talk to them and ask them questions. It was super cool. Actually, at one point I was talking about how much Sarah and Mitchell, because they're like me. I'm sorry guys, I'm bouncing around with different things. I want to make sure I don't forget to say the things that I want to say about it. But Mitchell and Sarah are, you know, Canadian actors. And right now they're in the same boat as me, where that they're in the entertainment industry and COVID and quarantine and things like that are affecting the industry. Nobody's got any certainty of what's coming up. No one knows when things are going to go back to normal. We're all kind of in the boat of like, hey, do I keep chasing this dream? But, you know, while we're waiting to see if the world goes back to normal, you know, the bills need to be paid and stuff like that. So like, what am I doing? What's the long game? And we scratch on some of that in the episode, which is fucking awesome, because I love when people get to hear the reality of like what it is. Like it is a grind. It is a sacrifice. It is chasing a dream to do these things. And, you know, I admire anyone who's doing it. I know myself, I have my moments of weakness, and it helps to hear people who've done create such amazing content and have such amazing performances and things like that, to hear that they also are, you know, going through the same doubts and stuff at times. So it helps to hear that, you know, we're all in the same boat still, from time to time. Not that I wish that on anybody or anything. It's just that, you know, I hope it helps the other people too, who, you know, other people in the world who are like, hey, I want to do something, but I'm not sure I can make it. And man, it seems like it's hard. It's like, well, it helps to hear people who are making it go, yeah, it's hard. And yeah, there's ups and downs. I've said this before, but it was just a really great episode. But Sarah and Mitchell, to me, were like the two shining stars in the podcast. Everyone else was great. There was one guy the guy who played Sherlock, who was not in the podcast. I actually, in the middle of the podcast, I was kind of like, yeah, like that guy's performance wasn't bad. It certainly wasn't. It even sounded like I was trying to like save it. At one point, I'm like, it sounds like I'm talking shit about this guy. And I wasn't trying to, but I was just trying to say that like his performance felt more like a performance. If that means anything. It was just kind of like, I feel like when I'm listening to him, he sounds like Sherlock. It just felt more like a play and stuff. Whereas Jim and Sabine, I felt, did a great job of sounding, I guess, more authentic. And they were saying how like the guy who played Sherlock, he was the most experienced, whatever. But it was like, yeah, but maybe, I don't know. I'm not trying to talk shit on the guy. He did a great job. It's just that I was much more drawn in by Sarah and Mitchell's performances. But at the same time, too, like dude's playing Sherlock, like. There's you kind of got to be a certain way. It's Sherlock Holmes. You got to, you know, you got to play the character. There's only so much liberties you can take with Sherlock Holmes. And at the same time, you know, biggest shoes to fill. So I just felt like during the interview, it might come across like I'm shitting on the guy. And I didn't mean for it to come across that way. I was just really trying to underline how impressed I was with Sarah and Mitchell's performances. So there's that. That was the thing. I had a great time with them, man. And like I said, boy, when you're listening to it, try not to fall in love with Sarah's Sabine. You know, she is. I mean, hell, her character is someone who's, you know, got everyone falling for her in the story. So, you know, no shit, listeners included. Okay, so that was one thing I did this week. Another thing that I watched was I watched a documentary called Scotch: A Golden Dream. It was on Amazon Prime, and I can't remember who recommended it to me. Somebody was telling me about a documentary that they saw about Scotch on Amazon Prime. So I looked it up and I watched it, and it was good. It mainly follows a guy whose name I've already forgot since I watched it. But he was a young man, a very big deal in the Scotch industry. And I don't have it on my phone, Amazon Prime, so I can't look it up now. But so he was the guy who worked at Jesus Christ, Lagavulin, I believe it was. So Ardbeg, no, Bowmore. I apologize, Bowmore. He had to go by the Bowmore distillery because Islay is home to several peated whiskey distilleries. Of course, when I went to Scotland, I went to the island of Islay. So I'm very familiar with this area. But we went to Laphroaig, Lagavulin, and Ardbeg. And we wanted to go to Bowmore, Bruichladdich, Caol Ila, but they were closed. So, and of course, Bruichladdich and Bowmore are just on the other side of like a little bay from each other. I don't even know if they'd call it a bay, maybe a little fucking creek. Who knows? But it's right on the other side. And this young man used to have to walk past the distillery to go to school every day because, Islay's not a huge place, little island off the coast of southwest coast of Scotland. And he's talking about how he was a young man. He went in there when he was in his teens asking for a summer job. And, the guy told him he can give him 6 weeks of work. And he's like, that 6 weeks turned into, 50 some odd years of being in the whiskey business, or 30 some odd years at that distillery. And it was a cool story because it's got a lot of different people featured in it. They're talking a lot about Scotch, a lot of Scotch information in it, but it just kind of follows this gentleman because he was a big deal and how he, traveled all over the world, sort of selling Scotch and promoting his distillery. And then, of course, at one point he made a big move and went from Bowmore to what was it? Bruichladdich. Sorry, I paused because I was trying to remember, was he directly from Bowmore there? But this is a guy just was the fucking man in the Scotch industry. And then went and basically brought back to life, resurrected the Bruichladdich distillery, which is a great distillery. Now I've got a bottle of Bruichladdich on my shelf, and I'm trying to get my hands on an Octomore, which is a heavily peated Scotch. But anyways, great one. They had Richard Patterson is featured in it. Richard the Nose Patterson, who's very funny. If you ever get a chance to watch some YouTube videos with Richard Patterson, he's a guy who, great Scotch enthusiast, who works at, not Jeffrey and White, White and Mackay, or Mackay and White in Glasgow. And that guy knows his stuff with Scotch too. Used to be the master distiller at Dalmore. The Dalmore. Anyways, great documentary, just cool stuff about whiskey in it. I can't recommend it. If you're looking for something to watch, why not watch something? Scotch, a golden dream. God damn it. I keep saying a golden dram. It's a golden dream. Although it is a golden dram too. You pour yourself a dram of Scotch and it is a beautiful thing. Especially listen to all these Scots talk about a Scotch and this and that. And it's all these different things. Scotch, and pour you a Scotch, give me a Scotch, all that stuff. I got at one point the gentleman's talking about how Scotch is incorporated in everything, like, in American movies, before someone's got some shit to do or they've just been through something, they're always, give me a Scotch on the rocks or whatever, what it is. Like, Scotch is always the drink that you gotta get into when you're gonna do some shit, give me a fucking Scotch. God damn, I have so much Scotch in front of me and I can't drink it right now. And I'll tell you guys why in an upcoming episode, as I'm a little behind getting this done. But I can sip gingerly on a little cup of Costa Rican Lungo made from my wonderful Nespresso machine. So yeah, I watched that. I also watched, I was watching off and on this one. I was doing some other stuff, but The Business of Drugs is what it's called on Netflix. And they do episodes. I didn't watch them all, but they do episodes like based on each individual kind of drug. Like there's an episode on cocaine. There's an episode on synthetics. There's an episode on like weed and another one on like heroin and stuff like that. And I watched a few of them. The one on coke was interesting because the cocaine episode, they were talking about how like in a lot of places it, like the people who are farming the leaves, they said like they make more money farming those leaves than they do. Like they couldn't possibly, to go like legit to be a farmer, to like grow like avocados or fruits or veggies or something like that. Like you couldn't possibly make enough money to make ends meet. So the whole thing with like the industry of the farmers who are making the coke leaves or whatever, they're like, it's the whole fucking society is designed on, no, not the society, it's not designed on it, but the whole idea is like, if you want to be able to feed your family, the only thing that's going to make enough money to feed them is that, right? You go legit and try to just be a farmer of regular shit, like you couldn't possibly do it. So it's like, it's almost like you just can't do anything but be a drug farmer. But that one was fascinating. The synthetics one was interesting because, they were talking about, like MDMA and the positive therapeutic, psychology, implications, right? For people who like trying to undergo stress. Cause there's people in the episode talking about how like they took MDMA, and they were able to do therapy with it, where you just feel like you basically feel, I don't want to say fearless, forgive me for the yawning, but it's like you feel open enough to be able to confront some of your things. There was a soldier in it who was talking about how he'd like do MDMA, and he's got like a therapist with him and another medical professional, and it's kind of like, okay, wait till you're having the effects of it, and now, okay, it's like, does a jump ahead in time where he's like, okay, I'm feeling something, and then he's able to just start just talking about how he's feeling, whatnot. And the person who developed the drug developed it with a therapeutic, outcome in mind. So it was kind of like, I'm doing this so that people can, as a drug to help people and stuff like that. But of course, as soon as it came out and people started, it immediately got classified as the top of the pyramid. I'm trying to remember whether it's like a Sector 1 drug or Section 1 drug or something like that, which basically just means like hard no. So, they were describing that in the episode, like the different sections of drugs, where it's like something can be like a narcotic, but you have to get it from, the pharmacy. And then there's another one, which is like, anyways, I don't remember that part, but it was like, but this thing, like as soon as they made it, as soon as they made it Section 1 or whatever the hell the system was called, immediately it's like, yeah, well, there's no, you can't do pharmaceuticals and medical testing and things like that, because it's just immediately being considered, no, it's bad drug. So the therapeutic uses of it that it was intended for just never got to be explored. But they go into that. Another synthetic they talk about is spice, which I'd never heard of before. But the idea is it's like a synthetic weed. So people are making fake weed. And the idea is that you can just take like any old spice that you want, fine herbs or whatever, and you basically make this chemical and you spray it onto the whatever, host plant, and I don't mean host plant like, a house plant. I mean like host, like, spray it on, I don't know, fine herbs or oregano or whatever, to just spray it on something you could smoke. And then when you smoke it, you get this drug. The only thing that they're talking about, like, there's no way of regulating how much THC, and you can give someone an insane dose. And it was interesting. It was interesting. So the documentary series is called The Business of Drugs on Netflix. Take a look if you're interested in learning a little more than my prattlings. I would definitely say take a look at that. It was interesting to me. What else? So Nespresso and Costco won't tell you much about it. It's really not. It's work. It's talking to people and seeing who's looking for a premium cup of coffee in their home, and who likes to slum it with Keurig. That's basically what we've been doing. But we were trying to find ways to make things a little bit more accessible for the stores, in terms of like trying to be able to talk to people, because it really is a product where tasting and seeing is believing. So when you're not able to taste it and you're not able to show someone how good it is. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm getting texts and my fucking autocorrect is making me sound like an idiot. Bear with me 1 second. All right. Sorry, gang. I apologize. I'm just getting messages. Someone's coming to pick something up and getting messages. So trying to coordinate that, and I'll have to pause it again, of course, when they get here. But, so yeah, that's actually my boss was talking about. So him and I were trying to find ways that, like, how do you tell somebody what a machine does? How do you, sometimes seeing is believing. So, that's the whole point of infomercials and whatnot. So we had to we were suggesting to Nespresso that they allow us to do live demos, right? So if they're going to spend the money to give us capsules and stuff that we're basically just going to waste, because we can't give it away. A lot of people are like, why can't you give us coffee? Give us samples. We want samples. And it's like, well, we're not allowed. Well, why not? Well, because COVID, we start giving out coffees to everybody. People are constantly removing their masks and drinking. So it's like, they don't want to have people taking their masks off. Costco's giving out samples, but they're giving out wrapped stuff saying, please enjoy it at home. We also heard that bylaw was going into some of these stores and, giving people fines who didn't have their masks on, and quite hefty fines. So I think the idea is apparently $5,000 was the number. $5,000 fine for not wearing a mask inside a grocery store. But my guess is, you get it thrown out. $5,000 in this time is insane. But I think the reason that they were doing it, apparently like a few of the Costco's got hit hard with it, and customers and employees alike getting these fines. My guess is it's a show of force. If enough people are going around telling these stories about how they got a $5,000 fine and people saying, oh, these people are getting fines and this and that, everyone starts wearing a mask. They're afraid, I don't want to get a fine. So my understanding is you probably go in there and get it thrown out and say, well, I wasn't aware that we could even get a fine for this. I didn't know it was a crime. I thought it was a policy, yada, yada, yada. So they'll probably throw them out, but they still did their show of force, and the vast majority of the population hears about this and everyone wears their masks. I think that's what it was. It was a scare tactic. Because if you say, we're going to fine you, nobody listens until you get a fine, right? So, yeah, that's the way it was. I mean, I remember one time, I was lucky somebody I knew got pulled over by the cops while they were on the phone with me. And they were like, I don't know why I'm getting pulled over. I'm wearing my seatbelt, whatever. I'm like, well, are you holding your phone to your head right now? And he goes, oh, fuck. And then I could hear the cop say, hey, how's it going, sir? Do you have $1,000 right now in this economy to give away to the government for this and that? The cop was super cool, did not give him a fine, but basically was like, and this was during, early parts of quarantine. So this was a good dude saying, like, I understand money's gonna be tight for everybody. If you got $1,000, so I think he said, yeah, do you have $1,000 for just to give over to the province right now for blah, 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 blah. I was like, that was super cool of him to recognize, to be cool about it. But, that's, more, give me 1 second. Texts never stop. You tell someone you're doing something and that's like, if they could send you 15 small texts, just send me one message. Sorry. And again, I'm not going to know what point to go back and edit that out. It just sound like Josh being Josh, getting messages, can't stay focused. It's not like I can just ignore it because the person's on their way. But, yeah. So show of force, that kind of stuff. So we were kind of like, all right, how can we show people how this thing works without actually, giving out samples and stuff? So we decided, what if we just started doing demos, live demos? We'd run the machine, telling people how it works. They could see it. They can see how easy it is. They can see all the nice creme on the coffee and this and that. So my boss and I whipped up a quick script. I gave him my, some things that we need to have in it, but he basically scripted it out. And then one of the nights after work, he came and he's like, okay, we're just going to record it real quick, like a little video for them to see how we would do this demo. And so it's me behind plexiglass with a mask on. And he was just filming on a tripod with an iPhone. But we're in Costco and we were filming this as soon as the doors, as soon as the customers are out. So immediately all the forklifts are coming to the floor. So he's trying to record me talking. And I'm like, I can't read the script and be animated and act this stuff out. Plus, you're not even going to be able to record me because the forklifts are all baby. If you've ever been in a Costco and it's closed, and me, like there's forklifts everywhere. Me. People just going around corners, aisles, everything like that. Like it's insane. There's no way it's going to work. So he's trying to now he's reading the script and I'm trying to act it. And I'm like, I can hear you, but it's just it's going to sound shitty. So I said, look, I'm wearing a mask. Why don't you read it? I'll act out what you're saying. And then later on, I'll record a voiceover for you. I'll read the script into my microphone, what I'm doing with my podcast equipment. I'll read it into that. And then you can just put my audio talking over top of my act out. And that way all those noises and honks and everything aren't there. Well, we did that. We filmed it. And when I came back, he sent it to me later on. But the script that he sent me was not the order that he read it in. So I'm trying to like watch this video and read a script and do a voiceover, but it's in different orders. So like I probably did like 40 fucking takes. There was also a period of time where there was like way too much dead space that he was going to edit out, but he didn't edit it out. So I'm sitting there like trying to read into the thing while watching the video. And it was just like, and I'm trying to memorize because at this point I'm now I can't read the script because I got it because like I said, he recorded it, like he read it out of order for the talking points. So when he read it out of order when I was there, I acted it out of order, right? I was acting out what he was saying. So now he sent me the script to use to just read for the voiceover. The only problem is it's all out of order. So instead of, and this is something like he needs to submit by midnight or whatever. So it's, and I'm getting home at like 11 o'clock. He's sending me the edited thing at like 11 o'clock. So I'm doing these voiceovers like, and so I'm like, I can't just read it and go, okay, now you chop it up and put it with the video. It's like, I kind of got to just watch this video and then say the points as I'm going. It was work. It was definitely work. I'd done a little bit of voiceover stuff before, but again, when you're doing professional voiceover, they've got the script and the stuff the way it's actually supposed to go. You know what I mean? The beats hit properly and everything like that. So this was just fucking a whack job. It was good. I'm glad we got it to work and everything, but it was a pain in the ass. But that was just something I remember spending, and my spare time with this Nespresso stuff has been just eating up. It's kind of like in the spare time, we powwow a lot about how can we, move things forward and stuff like that. And what can we do to increase numbers and shit. And I'm glad that I'm the team lead and I'm glad that I'm included in a lot of the decision making and stuff. But I get to a point where I'm almost like, I'm just living and breathing this Nespresso stuff a little too much. You know what I mean? I love the coffee, love the product, but I also need time away from it, which is why I'm actually spending more time watching documentaries and just TV instead of being like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and let's write some comedy and let's read some books. It's like, nope, I'm just going to sit and fucking veg and be exhausted. But I was reminded of this because this was pre-podcast. I don't think I've really talked to you guys about this, but I thought it was kind of funny. That I would mention it because I was telling him about how I had to do voiceover for a show that I did called Real or Fake on National Geographic. Jesus, sorry guys, I'm either getting hit with yawns or I'm getting hit with heartburn. That's what I'm struggling with. What's it called, Josh, that you're dealing with? Heartburn. So I did a show called Real or Fake, which was kind of cool. I got asked to do it by a company called Mountain Road Productions. They had worked with me on a home renovation show that I'd done before, which was like reality TV. And I remember they were like, they needed a host, a quiz master, and they were recording a pilot. When they recorded the pilot, there was no costumes or anything like that. And we were recording in the Byward Market, in Ottawa. And I remember like, I was just dressed in kind of like standard street clothes or whatever. And we were recording all of these like promos and stuff. And I'm not an actor, right? So like, I'm not used to memorizing scripts and then delivering them while staying on my mark and shit like that. You know what I mean? So if you give me a script like a couple days before, then I can read it and memorize it. But when you tell me a couple lines, I don't mean a couple, when you tell me like 60 seconds of speech, I'm also someone who's capable. I want to do a good job, and therefore I get a little anxious with something like that. So you give me a minute worth of conversation to remember and where to walk and do this and that. Like there's so much like technical shit that I've stopped paying attention to my acting and this and that I'm like, just make sure I walk here, make sure I do that. Remember they were trying to record me crossing a street, and then the fucking, they're like, take 10 seconds to get across. So not only am I trying to say the lines, I'm trying to count to 10. I'm trying to go from this side of the light to the other. And then the light was only like 6 seconds long. So I was constantly like in the middle of the red during like a green light going the other way. And they're like, who cares about the other cars? I'm like, I do. They might fucking hit me or whatever. But it's like another distraction. So when you're trying to micromanage all these little beats in your fucking head, I'm getting angry now. When you're trying to remember all these little things, it's like, it's too much noise in my head. So I didn't feel like I did a great job of acting in that particular case. But I remember it being like, cross the street and let's record this. Oh, my person's here. BRB. Hope I remember what I was talking about. Crossing the street was what I was talking about. Okay. No more interruptions, hopefully. Knock on wood. So yeah, we were recording one episode, all sorts of things. I remember too, at one point I was walking across the street in a giant like Greyhound Voyager bus, like drove right into shot and just stayed there, slowly turned the corner, like completely blocked it. And I stopped. I was like, oh, for fuck's sakes. Then the director gave me shit afterwards. And he's like, you don't stop unless I yell cut. And I'm like, all right. He's like, because that would have been really funny, you doing the whole thing with just a bus in the way. And I'm like, okay. Like, I'm learning all these things. I go, I didn't audition for this. You guys asked me. And I told you I'm not an actor. I'm a comedian. Very big difference between being an actor and being a comedian. Because when I'm on stage, I know how I want my joke to go. I know how I want to sound. I know what I'm trying to say. I'm in control of all of it. I'm not saying I have to be in control, but if you want something from me, you can't just be like, oh, give it to me with like more, yeah, like sometimes I'll just give you sounds too. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? I go, I can barely take crystal clear directions. And you're going to be like, give it to me more like Zimbabwe. Like, no, but they're just like, yeah, just, okay, let's try it again. But, make it more like, angry. I'm like, what do you mean angry? How? I'm pissed off. What the fuck? No, my word. Welcome to Real or Front. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those, like, that's why I hate auditions too. I was telling us, I would actually talked about that on the Genius podcast with Sarah. I was saying how like auditions suck because I don't know what you want. You give me like 2 lines. I had no context of the story or who this character is or anything like that. And they're like, let's just hear what you think it is. I'm like, fuck. Anyways. So I remember we did one pilot for Real or Fake. And I was like, well, I'm glad I got paid for that day because I don't think I don't think this series is going to happen if it's based on my acting skills. But they went with it. They decided to do the series and it was fun. It was really fun. They ended up making it like a guerrilla style game show where things just kind of pop up out of nowhere. The Seekers had costumes. I did not, but then they decided to put me into a costume where every episode I'm dressed as some other different ridiculous character. And at one point, actually, speaking of Sherlock Holmes and Genius, I actually played like a Sherlock Holmes detective, in one of the episodes. And it was funny because we filmed them for 3 days and every day we would film 3 we would film 3 episodes. I think there was 10 episodes total. So one of them was the pilot. And then we did 3 days of 3 episodes. And the style of the show, you can find it if you Google Real or Fake National Geographic, you'll find it. All 10 episodes are online and you can watch them. But you'll find, what was it? We did, the format of the show was 3 rounds. And you have the 4 seekers and their idea is to go out and go find contestants. So in the first round, they're running around asking people and they would just say, hey, so quick question, real or fake, blah, 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 blah. Like they'd give multiple, they'd give multiple choice answers. So they'd be like, which of the following ones is fake? And then they would say 3 things and then they name the fake one. If they got the fake one, they get to continue on. The whole idea, the grand prize was an iPad mini for one of these, contestants. And, they did a great job at editing. Let me tell you, I'll get to why I'm laughing, but, the way it worked was round 1, they'd have to get some people. Then in round 2 was elimination. So each seeker would get like 3 contestants and then they would do they'd say a statement and then the person had to say whether or not it was real or fake. And then in the 3rd round, once they got down to 1 person left, each seeker had their 1 contestant for the final round, which would be them with their contestant. And then the quiz master, yours truly, would come out, ask questions. And then the first person to get 3 points, right? So naming real or fake to my questions, would win the iPad mini. And it was so funny because, it was funny because, I remember, well, here, I'll tell you how we would film them. That was the format of the show. First round, gather people. Second round, eliminate the people that you've gathered to 1. And then final round, bring your 1 person back and get quizzed by Quizmaster Josh and see who wins the iPad mini. And I think we did like first to 5 or something on the scene. Then it got whittled down to like first to 3 points in post-production. But so what would happen is we had teams, like we had the director would be with one of the camera crews and audio guys and mic guys. What would happen is everyone would get set up. So the Seekers had handheld mics and I was like wired mic'd. So what would happen is we'd get ready to do the thing. They'd put me in costume, whatever goofy costume it was that I was going to wear. And then they would, feed the mics down the back of my shirt or whatever and hook all the battery packs into the back of my pants and then mic me in the front. And I would I was wearing like I was dressed like a stupid wizard one time. Another time I was dressed like a crazy judge. Another time I was dressed in a lobster suit. I was dressed as a Viking one time too. Anyways, the funny thing was they would go to do their, they would go off. So we would set up our showdown, I guess, stage. It was basically just a bunch of flipped over trash cans because it was supposed to look like a gorilla thrown together thing. It was a kid's show. So it was supposed to look like a game show that just sort of sprung up on the street out of nowhere. And the funny thing was, they would build these backgrounds with Nat Geo, real or fake, all the stuff, and then leave all the equipment there. But they would mic me, and then, there'd be a producer with one group and cameraman with one seeker. And then, the next seeker would have a cameraman and maybe like the director. And then another group would have a cameraman, seeker, and another member from the production. So the idea is that everyone left the set to go off and find these contestants in the area. And I would be sitting there. I basically became security at that point. I'm the guy who sits there and just watches all of the boxes and cases and equipment and backdrop and everything like that. You know what I mean? Like a security guard at a fucking carnival in the middle of the night. But it wasn't just like, hey, you're just sitting there and watching everything. You're sitting there watching everything. People are still wandering you're in the middle of downtown on the street or whatever. So there's like, you're taking up a huge footprint with all this shit and people are coming up and going, what's going on? But you're dressed like a Viking. I'm not like dressed like security, like, oh, what's going on here? I'm dressed like a fucking lunatic because half a block down is another idiot dressed like something else. And he's just homeless and crazy. So I just look like either a crazy guy who showed up or why is this one guy here with all of this equipment? And yet like, the cameras were all gone. So it's just this weird set, a bunch of like production boxes and then a wizard guarding it. Fuck, it's stupid. It was, yeah. It was funny, but that was me for 3 days. It would be, we'd set it up, do the set and then dress me up like something stupid. And then everyone would fuck off for 40 minutes. And I would sit there and look like a fucking idiot and answer all these people's questions. What's going on here? I'm like, it's a game show. And they're like, oh yeah, where is everybody? And I'm like, they'll be back. Like a divorcee whose wife left. She's coming back. I'm just going to sit here in her dress until she does. But yeah, so I remember when the Seekers come back and everyone's back and we're doing the setup and we're doing the funny thing to me was I remember Robin, camera guy, great dude, great fucking dude, Robin. And, I'd be mic'd, right? So I'm mic'd and my mic is quoted. We call it hot. When your mic's hot, it means it's recording. And, it's an industry term. I'm just trying to remember all the stuff. I remember I would fuck with Rob because there's so many people and I'm visualizing it. And I don't know if I'll be able to paint a picture, but it's a kind of wide open space. Like there's the cameras that are on me at my Quizmaster station. Then there's like the backdrop with all the contestants and the cameras are on them. And there's a big kind of it's a big circle, sort of the way it's set up. We're still only occupying half of the circle, but like half the circle is camera crew and production people, whatever. And then the other half of the circle is all set. And I'm just standing there. The directors are getting everything ready. They've handed me my questions, so I'm just holding them, waiting for things to start. But I've been mic'd, and I know Robin across the way, he's got the headphones on, so he can hear me. So there's people running around everywhere, getting the contestants ready, getting backdrops ready, getting, release forms and things like that. All these things done. And I would just tilt my head down and say something incredibly perverse or whatever. under my breath, but into the microphone. And it's funny because I'll look like 40 feet in front of me across the circle to Robin holding the camera, and I would just say something fucking stupid or funny, but like, perverted and on a set for a kid's show or whatever. And then I would just see him either stick his head out from behind the camera and shake his head no, or just his shoulders start popping up and down like he was laughing. So I'd say something. One of the contestants had a super hot mom or something. They just Robin just fucking shake his head, just knowing that it's only him who could hear me across the way. I mean, I'm sure I don't think we started recording. Fuck, I hope not, or I'll be canceled. But that's like 6 years ago. Wouldn't it happen by now? Like Kevin Spacey wasn't even fucking famous before his shit happened. Oh, really? That rabbit hole? I didn't do anything like that. Before anyone thinks, oh, really, Josh? Was that? No, but if you just say like, kid's got a hot mom, I'd like to give her an iPad mini. You know what I mean? Does that even make sense? No, but just shit like that. Yeah. And then of course it's like, okay, rolling sound. And then I'm like, oop, put on my little halo. I'm an angel. Never say anything gross. I just like fuck with those guys because they were the same dudes that were working with me on the All for Nothing show too. So like I Mountain Road I've worked with before, so I know like the teams and people that they use, and I love those guys. They were fucking awesome. I miss doing stuff with them. So yeah, but we would get started on the last part where I was actually on camera doing the Quizmaster stuff, and it was so funny because the director would give me shit because what happened the way it was supposed to go was like I'd ask a question and then the first person to bang whatever goofy prop they gave them onto the top of their trash can, or they say their name, and they get to answer the question, real or fake, right? They answer with basically, a true or false. I make a statement, they go true or false, real or fake. And the funny thing was sometimes the contestant would be like a 4-year-old kid, and sometimes it would be like a 15 or 16-year-old. So the idea is like the 15 and 16-year-olds are super fast. They're competitive. They play video games. Like their hand-eye coordination is amazing. So it's like, ask a question, they bang, and I'd say their name. So then the director would, okay, once that cut, and then they come up to me and they go, okay, you gotta let somebody else, when you say the next name or whatever, like just let one of the little kids get it in or whatever. I'm like, that's cool, but you need to go tell their seeker who's with them to help them bang it. Like you gotta get them to bang with them because the teen kids are way faster. I can't be like bang, bang. Oh, the second one was the one who got it in buzzer beater. You know what I mean? Like I get it, but because they're like, the teenager's gonna be done in like 5 seconds, and then there's no like, what's the end of them? I go, hey, look, I get it, but you need to get the seekers if it's close, I'll pick the kid, but if it's like bang and then bang a minute later from the kid, I'm like, well, you got to go with the person who did it first. Otherwise it looks fucking rigged. So the idea was, he's like, yeah, you got to make it a closer game and let other people get answers in and shit. So that kind of sucked. That was the thing that I was kind of chuckling at before. Chuckling earlier too with the whole me having to guard the thing dressed like a lunatic, saying funny things to Robin through the mic. It was fun. It was a fun thing. And then like I said, for 3 days straight, it was like record 3 episodes. It was like all day filming, and we had a good time. It was good. It was just, but the vast majority of my day was me sitting dressed like a lunatic, and just guarding a set with no one else around. People would come over and start like trying to take pictures and stuff. I was like, all right, guys, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. No, it was more like people were coming and like they would just come and be like, hey, what's going on? And then some of them would like try to pick up some of the props and stuff. I was like, guys, you can't, we gotta film it and stuff. We're filming here. Beat it. And some people are like, don't let people take pictures, because it's like the show hasn't been released yet, right? So a bunch of people are like posting pictures, of themselves in front of a set that's not been out yet. And it was good. We didn't get a second season, but I had fun. Real or fake, Nat Geo. That was a fun thing. I did the different costumes, guarded the set. I had no acting experience, and they got what they paid for. So yeah, that was a fun time in my life, was doing the real or fake. I had a good time with it. So, DK, baby. DK's back in my life, and I could not be happier. DK sent me a bunch of books, and one of the ones I went a few weeks without one. But I actually read the Health Span Solution. It's a great little book here. Little, not little at all. It's actually quite large. The Health Span Solution: How and What to Eat to Add Life to Your Years. 100 Easy Whole Food Recipes by Juliana Hever and Ray Cronisi, like Gary Sinise. It's fucking people's names. Don't just live longer, live better. Health span is a noun. The period of life spent in good health, free from chronic disease and the disabilities of aging. Want to increase your health span? Learn how a single lifestyle modification, changing what you eat, can dramatically improve your quality of life and results in sustainable, lasting health benefits. Based on over a decade of research and longevity analysis, authors and leading plant-based nutrition experts Juliana Hever and Ray Cronisi introduce a revolutionary way of eating designed to help you lose weight, reverse disease, and achieve optimal health. And then you can take on the power. So this one's actually interesting. And I actually just remembered one of the things I want to tell you guys about. The whole reason I thought about Real or Fake was I had to do, they did a voiceover for like the episodes in post-production. That's why I laughed. And I also laughed earlier because I'm like, they cut down 5 points to 3 points in post-production. They had to edit it in such a way that like the hits and the timing with the hammers and everything made it look like all the kids were getting there. You know, it was a close to get the buzzer beaters and stuff in there. Anyways, when they were doing the editing and post-production, they had one of the producers do the voiceover for the Real or Fake. And then Nat Geo was like, we're not in love with that. Can you get Josh to do it? And I was like, oh, fuck. Again, this is like one of the only voiceover things I've ever done. But they were like, the direction I was getting from them, they're like, can you say it? They're like, can you say, hey, welcome to Real or Fake, the coolest game show ever? And that's what I was doing. I was like, welcome to Real or Fake, the coolest game show ever. And they're like, no, can you voice go up at the end? And I was like, what do you mean go up? Like ever? And they're like, yeah, but more like up. I'm like, what do you mean more up? Instead of going ever, like ever down, go ever. And I was like, my voice doesn't go up like that. It's cracking right now trying to do it. And they're like, yeah, but just do it anyway. So I'm like, welcome to Real or Fake, the coolest game show ever. Ever. Like, I did so many fucking takes trying to give them a wah at the end. It's a kid show, but my voice doesn't do that because I'm a grown fucking man. Like, it was frustrating. My voice literally is going fucking dry right now, just trying to replicate that. Yeah, it doesn't do it. It doesn't do that. Welcome to Real or Fake, the coolest game show ever. Like, it's like up at the end, going up, ever. Like this, it's ever. Like, it's not a fucking word that does that ever, you know? Welcome to my funhouse. Like, I don't know. I'm just normally will drop down a sound, not like I'm not Barney. Super duper. Duper. He doesn't go duper. Like duper. Things drop down. I don't know. I didn't get the direction. I go, can you do it? But she was a girl. The girl who did it, I think she was pissed because she did the thing and then they took it off of her and gave it to me. But she's like, welcome to coolest game show ever. Like their voices go up because they're fucking shrieky little shrill fucker. Anyways, no, nothing against it. I'm not even gonna name her. She was a sweetheart, but it just, I don't have a feminine squeaky voice. So my voice doesn't squeak up at the end. It drops down. That's why things go down. At the end, they drop off. They don't go up. Oh my God. That's not how I talk. If they wanted Josh. So it sounds stupid when you listen to the episode. It's like, welcome to Real or Fake, the coolest game show ever. Like, it's Nina and Norm. Like, there was I would say like Aaron, Aiden, Nina, and Norm. Like, and Norm. It's so irritating. So irritating. Anyways, the Health Span Solution, everybody. I was just trying to say, like, that was the other fucking voiceover thing that I could remember was doing Real or Fake, and how much I was just like, I am frustrated by this, the sounds and stuff that I'm doing. Anyways, Health Span Solution, guys, is a very cool book. Like all together, it's predominantly a cookbook. So there's all sorts of super cool recipes in here that I checked out. This was one that I thought was going to look looked really, really nice. It's called the Eat Your Greens Bowl. It's got carrot ginger dressing. All right. The ingredients are asparagus spears, chopped kale, Low sodium tamari. Anyone know what tamari is? I know what edamame is, but I don't know what tamari is. Garlic powder, broccoli florets, lime juice, brown rice, shelled edamame, cucumber, avocado chunks, broccoli sprouts. It's really cool greens bowl. Obviously the brown rice is there for a little bit of fucking starch. But there's so many cool, just, I would call them simple recipes, but for me, if you have to chop up a bunch of shit first, it's not simple. It's just good for you. And God damn it, I'm someday going to start taking better care of myself. There's a lot of mushrooms in these recipes though, and I fucking hate mushrooms. Like this one here, I don't even know if I'm going to say it right. The Guai Tiao Tom Yum. It has shallots, fine, but it's got a half a cup of sliced shiitake mushrooms. Gross. Coconut water? Sure. Garlic cloves? Sure. Kaffir lime leaves? How am I going to find kaffir lime leaves? Okay. Then I got to get lemongrass. Galangal Thai ginger, Thai chilies, chili paste, one bunch of shimeji beach mushrooms, base trimmed, then a half cup of sliced baby bella mushrooms. Too much mushrooms. Then a magic mushroom powder. You're going to go fucking trip balls in your gai tiu tom yum soup. Fuck mushrooms. Black bean and kale chili. Anyways, whatever. You might be hearing this and going, oh my God, that sounds so good. Spicy Thai vegetable chowder. It looks like there's mushrooms in this. Show me mushrooms. Yep, there they are. Sliced oyster mushrooms. Fuck mushrooms. Maybe I can't be healthy. Because I know that when I was reading this book, there isn't mushrooms in there's so fucking many mushrooms in this book. I actually, like, I skimmed through I read the first part, which is, as always, the information part of a DK book, you know, where instead of just saying, hey, here's a cookbook with good shit in it, mushroom and wild rice bisque. You know what? Yeah, there's, it's funny because I jumped through a bunch of them and there wasn't. And now just like page by page, there's a lot. Yeah. Like I remember this apple and fennel, with black walnuts. This looked fucking good. That I wanted to make. And then, you know, they had here we go. Red wine and cocoa plums. That one looked fucking good. There was a lot of good shit here, but clearly I didn't. There's like some homemade barbecue sauces and stuff. There's actually some really there's a ton of really good shit in here. But the soups are fucking predominantly mushrooms. Yeah. And I love soup. Don't you fuck with my fucking soup mushrooms. I would declare war on them. Anyways, in the beginning of the book, they do a really good job of explaining, you know, a lot of things about the health span and stuff like that. There's actually a really great page on circadian rhythm, right? Like our sleep cycle, and like when your body starts making melatonin and, you know, your peak heart rate, and just, you know, when your body starts producing or secreting melatonin is how they referred to it. Right. So like you're starting, you know, 9 o'clock, you start secreting melatonin, then the melatonin stops your peak height of awareness, and just over the cycle of the day, it's showing them right in the graph. Not to mention they talk about, you know, our broken plate, which is like all the different things in our food, just different things we should be eating versus what we actually are eating. They talk about lifespan versus health span, and then over the different generations and things like that. They also talk about nutritional information, even though you can see like the nutritional information will be the same. It's like how much, you know, nutrition are you actually getting out of something? So just because you know, counting carbs is one thing, or not carbs, sorry, counting calories is one thing, but what you're eating also makes a difference too. So just because you're not going over your daily calories, is it good for you? I remember the nutritional information thing was trying to figure out how many amino acids you were getting, because that stuff doesn't exactly show up on the nutritional facts, right? So I think they did a baked potato versus 90% lean beef. Both serving sizes were 100 grams, but the calories from the baked potato was 93. The beef was 230. The calories from fat in the potato obviously is 1, and the calories from fat in the beef was 109. You know what I mean? So like just a little under half, like barely under half of the beef serving was all fat. You know what I mean? And then of course the amino acid score, which is something that's good for you, You get 109 amino acid score on the baked potato and 79 from the lean ground beef. So, but they talk about all sorts of this, the science of aging and things like that, and how many people are actually like living. It's like showing people that, like, doing well with their lifestyles and stuff at like older age in life, but like once your reproductive, cycles and stuff are kind of like coming, I don't say coming to an end, have long since been ended, but it's like, now you're the healthiest, you're reproducing when you're shit. So yeah, where was it? They talk about the lifespan versus health span, where it shows like puberty and reproductive cessation from 45 to 50. It says whereas lifespan refers to the total number of years alive, health span focuses on how many living years one remains healthy and free of disease or dysfunction. So it's showing kind of like health span between 80 and 100 plus is like when you're actually living like free of disease and stuff like that. And then your reproductive prime and shit like that. So it's interesting to see. But yeah, anyways, I'm not a book review podcast, so I won't go into this one too much. Not to mention the fact that I fucking hate mushrooms, but they sent me this. I really, I like a lot of the meal recipes. I love soups. So I was really disappointed how many of them were just fucking mushrooms and stuff, but they have a ton of information. If you're into that, you want health. I'm super Cole's Notes version of some of the stuff here, but it's cool to see they've got like these little triangles of nutrition and show you like how to organize it, right? So the food triangle consists of having, on one point is leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, stems, bulbs, and mushrooms. Ugh. And then increasing the energy density on one side. The other point, you have meat, eggs, dairy, poultry, fish, and shellfish, which is fat, and animal foods. And then on the other side, you have plant foods, which is nuts, seeds, fruits, cereals, legumes, starchy vegetables, whatever, which give you your fats and your carbohydrates. So the food triangle is a simple way to organize foods while eliminating the shortcomings of the protein, carbohydrate, and fat labeling. At a glance, one can recognize that foods at the top and right are high in fiber and phytonutrients, lower in saturated fats, and restricted, not deficient in certain amino acids, carbohydrates, and fat. So, yeah, good book. I'm going to hit you one more time with the title, The Health Span Solution, How and What to Eat to Add Life to Your Years. And it's 100 easy whole food recipes. So if you like mushrooms, it's probably fucking amazing for you, but it's from my pals at DK. So DK.com. In the US, dk.com/CA for my Canadian listeners, or just Google DK Books, my pals at Dorling Kindersley. I fucking love them. I'm already nose deep in a bunch of the other stuff that they've sent me, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. I didn't dislike this. I thought, I'm trying to take better care of myself. I saw, hey, the health span solution, that sounds interesting to me. I'd like to learn more. I mean, we all know when we eat shit that we're not doing ourselves any favors or whatever, but, I'm definitely down with learning more. I enjoyed what I learned, and I'm going to keep trying to apply better recipes for my life. I got some stuff coming up, so I'll be telling you guys about that. And trust me, I'll be telling you about that. I've got my I got my wisdom teeth coming out next week, so not looking forward to that. Or soon. They're coming out soon. I told you guys how pissed off I was. Well, I am getting them out. I am getting them the fuck out. So before the next podcast, I will have my wisdom teeth out, and I will tell you guys all about that and how that goes. Yeah. So listen, you guys are the bomb diggity. I loves you. I hope you guys have a great week. Can't wait to talk to you again, and enjoy the music.